We are both lucky and excited to have Ashley Barrett as our rabbinic intern this spring and this summer. And this evening, we're glad to have her beamed in from Cincinnati, not only because it's good to see her face again and learn from her, but also we can be humbled that as I spoke with her earlier today, she shared with me that it is exam week in her fourth year of rabbinical school, and so you don't really take too many multiple choice tests in rabbinical school. What you do is write lots and lots and lots of papers. And so she's in the midst of writing a book worth of papers for this end of semester week, and she took a break to give us some words of Torah and to be our teacher this evening, so it's a great honor to invite Ashley Barrett to give us our Devar Torah, our sermon for tonight.
Shabbat Shalom. It's wonderful to be joining you all from dreary Cincinnati to spend a few moments of rest this Shabbat together. I want to open by offering a story which happened this past week at religious school. As I was teaching my class, I teach kindergarten, first and second graders at a synagogue in Cincinnati. We were learning about Shehechianu moments, and we were talking about this blessing that we have that's so wonderful because it helps us recognize the specialness of doing something for the first time or doing something for the first time in a really long time. And it's a wonderful blessing because we have so many reasons to offer the Shehechianu at this time. And one of my students was sharing his Shehechianu moment that he was looking forward to. And he was so excited to inform the entire class that he was counting down the days until he could go to summer camp for the very first time this summer. Well, this declaration, it melted my heart. Summer camp is very important to me. And across the country right now, thousands of kids are counting down the days until they can finally go to summer camp for the first time after a summer missed. Within our own community, our kids are counting down and looking forward to maybe summer camp or maybe just a summer of normalcy. There is something so natural and beautiful, almost eternal, about our human desire to count the days, both as human beings, but also as Jews. Parshat Emor, which we read this week, reminds us to count our days. The portion we read contains a series of ritual laws which are of concern to the priesthood, and many times over we're told of God's holiness, with a few dissuading reminders against profaning God's name. And then we get to the 23rd chapter. Daber el bnei Yisrael, ve'amarta alehem moadeh. Moses, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, these are the fixed times. The moed is our holy festival or celebration. When we come to the reading of Emor, the details about the festivals are only as an opportunity for learning, as their messages cannot be directly applied, since currently we're at this time in between festivals. But one instruction we receive this week, Usfartem lachem, count for yourselves 7 weeks. This one we can fulfill. We count the 7 Shabbatot from Pesach to Shavuot. In Torah, we are each commanded to participate in this journey of counting the 7 weeks. The counting known as the Omer starkly stands out from other rituals we read of in Torah, such as the ram's horn, the call that we're instructed to hear. But we are not obligated to find our own shofar and make the calls ourselves. Or the sacrifices, which are described this week. We can offer them ourselves, yes, or we can send a representative to do so on our behalf. the command to count the Omer is more like the laws of Shabbat, or the instruction that each of us must see ourselves as if we personally came out of Egypt. To participate in any one of these things, we must shift our perspective. To understand freedom, we have to see ourselves as if we weren't free. Shabbat makes us completely put down everything from our work weeks, put all of the mundane work out of our minds, and focus on rest. The Omer does not ask us to completely change ourselves in an instant, say with the lighting of candles and the start of a holiday. The Omer instead urges us to track our changes, to watch our growth. And the secret to that is found in the manner in which we count the Omer. Instead of the little boy counting down to the start of camp, passing each day with the immediate thought of the next, the Omer reminds us that we are constantly building on the day before. We count up our days and not down. We could not be at the 8th day without the 7th, which came before it. By counting the Omer, we hold the pieces of ourselves that are goal-oriented. But for 7 weeks, we remember that we are also always a work in progress to be our best self. We mark growth when we count the days up. The Or HaChaim, an 18th century Moroccan rabbi, teaches that this journey of counting the Omer is akin to a couple preparing for their wedding. The couple bound for marriage needs time to grow together, to reflect and prepare themselves for their future. On Shavuot, the culmination of the Omer, Bnei Yisrael is given the Torah, which the rabbis often compare to a marriage ceremony. The people needed time. They needed 49 days to grow and to embrace their newfound identity as a free people. This week, our nation ended another kind of counting up. President Biden's administration reached its 100-day mark. The artificial marker is a chance for our elected officials to pause and assess how much has changed or not changed since taking office. President Biden and the nation are evaluating policy, the economy, how many shots administered, and most importantly, where they could do better for the American people. We count up to 100 not as a completion of any major milestone in the span of the 4 years, but to have a chance to look backwards with an eye on the future at the same time. In the face of the really exciting time of year we're all in, after many months of not having much to count down to, the Omer reminds us more now than ever, this year, the value of each day. This Shabbat, as we count the Omer, reflect on where you were on Passover, or maybe even where you were Passover last year. May this Shabbat and the remaining weeks of the Omer be a time of holy counting, holy reassessing for ourselves, our community, and for the world. We say, Ken Yehi Ratzon, so may it be God's will. And with that thought and the spirit of that teaching in mind, we'll offer the blessing for the counting of the Omer. We bless the 34th day. Yesterday was Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day. So we say the blessing for the 34th day. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, al sfirat haomer. Blessed are you, eternal our God, who commands us in your mitzvot and makes us holy with the counting of the Omer. And we say, Hayom arba'a v'shloshim yom, shehem arba'a shavuot v'shisha yamim la'omer. Today is the 34th day, which are 4 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. Shabbat Shalom.